About a year ago on the show, we talked about Stephen Guilbeault, who is Canada's Environment Minister, and he was appointed to that position about a year ago. The title of this article, this is from the Canadian Press, An Activist in Office, Stephen Guilbeault's first year as Environment Minister. I thought this was interesting because it is a Canadian story, but I think this has universal appeal because it's a very unusual thing, really, that happened that, Stephen Guilbeault was an activist. And we talked when he was appointed about a year ago. Your favorite story was, he was involved in many different kind of publicity raising stunts, like, climbing off of the CN Tower, hanging a banner off the CN Tower, stuff like
Borderline
that.
illegal or possibly illegal. Like I'm
Yeah.
sure he was charged with
But the
mischief or
most
something.
fun was that, he and some other people went to the Premier of Alberta, Canada's oil province, and they started to install solar panels on the roof of his house without his knowledge or permission, which, makes James laugh a lot.
You'd have to know the politician in question. It's just,
Yeah.
and I don't know them personally, of course, but yeah. So yeah, it is. I can see this happening in Europe, but it did seem like a weird thing to happen here in Canada, where if you
Yeah.
have, a drunk. Well, I can't say that because our premier has a drunk driving conviction. He's in office, so that's not good. Usually, you have to be squeaky clean to get into office in Canada.
Yeah, so this is very unusual that, a climate activist has been appointed to this position, and he's done a lot of good things. This is kind of an overview of what he's managed to accomplish, and it's quite good. There's a nice little bit here when he was first appointed. It was flew over to the UK, but then he made everybody, him and his staff, all take a train another
Really?
500 kilometers
Yeah.
because, of course, that's lower carbon.
Wow. Good for him.
But the trickier thing is that he did in fact approve a large oil and gas project. So it says here the most difficult decision I had to make by far was Bay du Nord. There's no doubt about that. That was an extremely difficult day. It's an offshore project off of Newfoundland and Labrador that's going to produce more than 300 million barrels of oil over its lifespan. And that was a trade-off that he felt like he had to make. um, it said, it was a heartbreaking moment. Someone who in theory should have said no to that project. Data suggests we are going to be using oil for a long time. Coal is definitely being phased out, but his reasoning being that we are still using oil. We are going to keep using oil. So, he made that compromise, which, the hardcore environmentalists obviously would not have. But this is what happens when you have, an activist in office. You have to make compromises. Political life is all about compromises. So, that's a compromise I wish that he hadn't made, but, you can see why it might happen.
Oh, I bet that keeps him up at night. This is a compromise of working in the Canadian government. Where it's still
Yeah.
not going to appease anybody. All the oil and gas people are going to hate his ass.
Yeah,
Something
they all hate
awful.
him anyway. So,
Yeah.
and Trudeau spent lots of money buying pipelines and stuff to the benefit
Did
of the
nothing.
oil
Did
industry,
nothing for
and
him
he doesn't
politically.
get any credit for that. So,
Yeah.
we'll keep an eye on that and see what he's able to do in the future. But he has managed to enact lots of very positive climate, laws and rules in Canada.
He's got some very challenging stuff on his desk right now because that shifty Joe Biden with his Inflation Reduction Act, I guess all the investment in Canada is rushing to the States, to the United States. And he's
Yeah,
got to come up with a counteroffer to keep it here. And he's been slow to do that. And everybody might be gone. They might have packed up their boxes and left. This is what I'm hearing all around
yeah,
by the time he gets around to it in the spring, which is, it takes a while to do this. You can't just pull this out of his butt because it's
yeah,
going to cost and it's going to have to actually work. He's going to have to consult with industry, what will keep them here, keep the investment here. But, that is going to take a lot of, right when we were trying to get the investment in clean energy in Canada and jobs and everything that came with it going, it's got sucked into the United States by Mr. Biden, which I'm glad he's doing because it's better for the planet.
yeah.
Ultimately, it's a big plus for the planet.